How you guys doing? Um, Getting used to my new computer here. So let me see. Oops, wrong way. Okie doke. Come on, work. There we go. There we are. Um, I got a bunch of boxes behind me from unloading everything. So let me ask you, is the sound okay and the video all right? Because all of this is all new to me. I mean, I just literally got it yesterday and set it up. Hey, Johnny and Abdul and Thomas and Hader and Junior. Hey, Junior, Neff, Big Sal, Thomas, Maynard, Pepsi. How you doing, Pepsi? Hey, Javi. Okay. So if everything is okay, let me see. Hang on here. Hey, Rick. Oh, good. The camera's okay, and unfortunately, I haven't improved, so that's not going to change. I got this giant screen in front of me now. Anyway, okay, great. I'm glad everything's working okay. Um, all right. What I'd like to talk about this morning is in the last 5 years, uh, which watch companies do you think have improved? And by improvement, I'm really talking, I guess, about a number of different ways. Hey, Tourbillon, how you doing, Rancher? Good to see you. Um, what I'm, what by improvement I mean, one would be horologically. In other words, they started improved movement, maybe either developed better ones or made some themselves. Uh, there, there's something about the style that's more attractive, or some other feature that makes them do better. Well, there are two really things there. So on one hand, sort of a collector's delight in having interesting horology, and then there's also the business end of it that you got to sell watches if you're going to stay in business. So anyway, hey Tuna, how you doing? Panerai's gone from ETA to in-house. Yeah, Panerai has. I Poor Panerai. They've got certain things about them that I think the what P1000 is that it, Rancher, that's sort of their new base movement, and from what I understand, that may be Val Fleurier, but I'm not sure. But you're right. I mean, that's the kind of thing. They went from the 318 scandal to something that's a little better than that. Oris had some nice moves on that too. Long Jeans has been providing homage. Yeah, they have. That's a good one. Most improved is Breitling and IWC. Neff, how do you see that? I maybe it's me, but I every time I go look at theirs, oh boy, there's a new movement there. It's either another renamed ETA. There's nothing wrong with the ETA movements, believe it or not. It's just that, if you're going to use ETA, you might as well say so. But that's my view on it. Hey, Crappy. Uh, what are some other ones? Oh, by the way, Neff, no, you're right. They have done some. Okay. I think GP has done quite well. GP, Girard-Perregaux. I think Girard-Perregaux has had really a line of movements. I think we're really more of a movement maker. And I've always had a soft spot for Girard-Perregaux, but as a whole line of watches, I I don't know. Maybe they have. Maybe I that was sort of an iffy one for me. What are some other ones? Oh, I'll tell you one. At least I think is Cartier. Cartier used to go lying through their teeth about what was in their watches. The funny thing about Cartier, every now and then Cartier would put in some incredibly good movement by like THA or somebody like that, and then go back to telling stories about what was really in them. And then along comes Carol Forestier Kasapi, and she does all of these incredible movements. So I think, especially horologically, Cartier had really come up a lot. They've always had great style. They really have. And they got away from the must de Cartier, that kind of mindset, which I think is important. Um, yeah, Hermes. Hermes has done things. Unfortunately for Hermes, they some of their best stuff has sort of gone under the radar, even though they're winning Grand Prix awards for it. The what's called the suspendu, something suspendu, time suspendu is more of a sort of a thing, but it was very cool under the hood. You're right though. Hermes, I think, has done a lot. Of course, they bought 25% of Vaucher, so they that's another thing they've done. Uh, Bulgari is the same way. Bulgari has come. They had a. It seems they made good use of Gerald Genta after he left. All right, and there were a lot of very much Genta influenced designs they used. I think that really made some neat watches, and then they came out with the Finissimo and started winning awards all over the place. And I think in the last Grand Prix they won the you know the big the grand prize. Um, hey, Roar the Tiger, how you doing? Bulgari has improved no end. Style wise, Cartier always have been a success. Yeah, even Gucci have upped their game to some extent. What has Gucci ever see? Hmm, who does Gucci belong to? Um, they did. Yes, Gucci came out with their own movement, a very unusual one, and I think it was uniquely Gucci too. Chopard isn't sleeping. Yeah, Chopard's funny. The happy diamonds, things like that. Put these diamonds in there and rattle around. Mostly for, I think those were women's watches, and they were a lot of fun, I guess. But then I think the whole LUC line has been expanded, and in that respect, they have. Hey, Canadian Watch Monkey, how you doing? um, okay, let's see what else is going on. Some other ones. Um, Gucci owned by the Caring Group. Thanks, Rancher. That was literally the question I was wondering about. Um, who else is in the Caring Group? Wasn't the Caring Group sold or some big hunk of it? See, there was a recent sale of a couple really important brands. I forgot what they were. Yeah. Actually, Bill, for quartz, some of the early Gucci at least are quite well made for what they are. Yeah, this is one thing I found out. You can have an incredibly well made watch with a so-so movement in it. And these are from jewelers. I mean, they're great jewelry makers, and they're simply making watches with they can. Not always. Some of them simply put their logo on some cheap watch and call it a day. But others of them really go to town on the whole watch itself. Um, I really like the direction Longines. Yeah, a lot of people are talking about Longines in their heritage line. I agree. Mont Blanc. Yeah, Mont Blanc with their Minerva. Uh, yeah, they've been coming along too. they have moved out, I think, of purely ETA Salida. Not that there's anything wrong with those, but I mean they're of a different sort of level, I guess. Um, to me, a brand that has really come out. It didn't mean it to sound that way, but has really come along is, and in a way, it's not the best thing for collectors. Okay, and this is H. Moser. Uh, Not too many years ago, uh, you're able to get an H. Moser, a really good one, usually in gold, because that was a lot of and they were hand wound watches, and you could find some really good buys on them. These were listed at 25,000 and stuff like that, and you could pick them up for under 10. But that's changed. Now they've changed a lot of ways, and I think under Milan has really Edouard Mellon. I probably said it wrong, but to me that's a brand. I say that in lamenting because I have on my Henry Double Hairspring by H. Moser, and it's in white gold and hand wound. Like I said, great movement. In fact, fantastic movement. Problem with the movement was it was too expensive for them to make. So they quit making them. There was people didn't line up around the block to get a double hairspring, even though it did what it was supposed to do. And so you could pick them up at certain places for really good buys. Not true anymore. That's not true. In fact, they got waiting list on a number of models, and that's always good to see. Parmigiani Fleurier. I agree. I think Parmigiani Fleurier's big problem was people didn't like the design. They didn't like those big horn lugs and some of the other aspects of design, which I love. But I'm one person, not a and their movements. Trying to think. No, they had automatic movements. My Culpa and what other one did I have? The hemispheres. Both of those are automatics. Great watches. Both of them horologically, they're fantastic. Style wise, man, people just didn't go for them, and they've made a number of changes very recently, though. Here is one of the things to me. Unfortunately, they threw out the baby with the bathwater, so to speak. One of my very favorite watches anywhere is the Parmigiani Ovale Pantograph. That's the one with the little springy hands, and it's an oval shape. And when it gets to the narrow part, the hands go like this, and then when they're on the higher part, they go like that. A pantograph. They're still $40,000. But they've given them. I mean, they're not going to make them anymore, which I think is really a shame. So I'll just wait until they go down to something I can afford if that ever happens. Or we'll see what KV does for Urban Jurgensen. Yeah, that's another thing. Now, next year, 2023, is when the Urban Jurgensen, owned by Kari Vuutalainen, is coming out with their new models. Now, the model I got was the ones they had before that. And interestingly, apparently the P4 movement in it, in part, the prototyping was done by Kari Vuutalainen. So now he bought the whole company. What about Zenith? Zenith has, yes. I say that. I say that in this respect, okay? With Zenith, I don't like the high frequencies. I'm just not a fan of what I call, treating the movement like a rented mule and beating the tar out of it. But they add for accuracy. I have one Zenith, one of their elite movements. They're great. And the, what do they call it, Defy Labs that does a lot of their movement innovations. Yes, so Zenith has, but I don't, not to my taste. Um, Lang and Son. Eh, Lang and Sunda. I don't know. I have a friend who's a German watchmaker. That used to be his favorite watch company. He thinks they've slipped somewhat. And for this reason, um, after they were bought by uh, Richemont Group, they they sort of shied away from some of the less profitable, more interesting watches, and that was what upset him. And so that's one of those things. I mean, Adelanga and Sunda, they were good to begin with, so they had a hard time. Um, I've come across Swiss-made chronos using NOS Valjoux 7768 manual wind, included moon phase. Oh boy. First of all, I'm not a chronograph fan, but they have some NOS Valjoux 7768. That sounds very interesting. Really does. Yeah, John Mont Blanc. Yeah, that's another one. VC has done a great job correcting, using, reissuing their best-selling models from the past. You know, Abdul, I think, to me, there were two movements when they came out with a 4400 and they came out with a 5100. Those two movements have been sort of I think, the bread and butter of their bases for them, and they're both great. Um, and but I think, see, 16. It's a little more than 5 years ago. It was about, see, 2016. Well, yeah, 2016 is about 6 years ago, I guess. They came out with the 5100, and I think it was 2013 they came out with the 4400, and they initially came out with it in the Historiques American 1921. But I think overall, Vacheron Constantin is really very much on the upswing. More and more people, I don't know, some people are like me, more than I thought, are really upset with Patek Philippe for going with a silicon hairspring. But I think, here's the thing that I believe that companies like Patek Philippe have in mind. Um, there's a lot of people buy Patek Philippe's because they want a good, accurate watch. And a watch can magnetize, or whatever it's called, magnetize, and then it goofs it up. It either runs too fast or too slow, or stops altogether. Um, so it was sort of a decision, should we do it for collectors and purists like Bill, or should we do it with the majority of our sales? And I think that becomes sort of an interesting issue. I mean, you get a Patek Philippe. They make really good watches, but I don't know. For me, a Patek Philippe, I'd love to have one that was made between 2000 and 2009, right before they went into silicon. They have all of my favorite models during that time. Most of them are gondolas. So, but that's sort of an interesting thing. To me, it's yes and no, mostly no for me, for a collector. Maybe for somebody else it'd be great. The two solid mid-tier brands that have been making lots of changes is Christopher Ward and Oris, but their prices keep creeping up and up. I agree. Christopher Ward is one of my favorite, and there's some people they don't like him for one reason or the other. If you get a Christopher Ward, you know what you're getting. Their, what is it? SH21 is their in-house movement. And then if it's not, they'll tell you what's in it, a Solid or something like that. I've got nothing but respect for Christopher Ward. I really like that company. And Oris, the same thing. Trouble with Oris, I think, is they're going away of a lot of the Swatch watches. They're putting in the silicon balance springs and escapements. Hermes is on the uptick. Yeah, whole milk. I agree. They've been on the uptick, and I think not only did they that everyone knows about, they bought the 25% of what's it called, Vasseur Manufacture Fleurier (VMF). So they own basically one of the a big hunk of a major watch movement maker, and so they're going to have their good movement. But what they're also doing, if you go to the Agenor site and you have under this thing called realities, you'll see all of these different Hermes watches. Many of them have won a Grand Prix award because of some mechanism that Agenor put in them. And it's always the most interesting one that they won the award for, like the Urs Suspendu and things like that. Hey, Jean-Claude Beaver, how you doing? I think most of the majority of sales come from people who want to own the head of the horology Trinity. I don't think they know about the Trinity. They I'll tell you the truth, Abdul. They probably know Patek Philippe, and whether I'd call it the head or not is there's a debate for you. I think all of them have Audemars Piguet, Vacheron Constantin, and Patek Philippe all have some model that outshines the competition in that type of model, and so but that's. And I do like Patek Philippe. I just think it's a shame that they went with their silicon hairspring, so it compete with a $10, quartz model. Okay, what else has come up? Hi, Dan. How you doing? Hi, Grommel. Fortis and Frederick Constant improved a lot. How did Frederick Constant improve? I know that they had their I early on, about I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, I was at a watch show, and I ended up sitting with a guy at Frederick Constant, and he said, "Here, try this on," and it had the kind of heft and the quality that I really liked. But then I don't know whether that was before or after they were bought by Citizen, but I don't know where they've made their improvement, because they've got a lot of watches I agree that I like. As for Fortis, I don't know. Hello, let's see. Hey, the Traveling Nomad. Hi, all. I am depressed a little short of my HD 222. That is the killer, even though I love mostly LVC. Okay. Tudor won the GPHG award each year for the past 5 to 7 years. They've been improving since Black Bay. What have they won? They sort of like a bully. They either won on the challenge category or the petite aiguille category. A lot of the other ones in the petite aiguille category don't have their own movements. So you get you get so many Black Bays with different paint jobs. They used to have a category called the sports category, which I wish they would. And well, they have one now called the diver. I wish they had the sports. What about pilot watches and a lot of the other kinds of things? But no, they just have diver now. I don't know. John, what about Fortis? Somebody else mentioned Fortis as really coming out. I haven't paid that much attention to them. What have they done that's been really good? Carpet beetle, Thomas. RC, hi, upvoted. Okay, something is upvoted. Hi, Tuna. 220T or buying a house, difficult choice, or sending the kid to college, right? I, the 220. What is one that? There's some older ones that I think, like the 222 from Vasseron and Constantin. There was one I think called the Golden Eagle by Vasseron and Constantin, a sports watch. I'm not feeling Tudor. I don't know why. Or the Pelagos would take, but that's it. You know, uh, Mr. Beaver, I sort of have a feeling like that. It's sort of like I don't have anything against Tudor so much, but I really don't have a lot for them. Like I said, they keep coming out with the Black Bay and ones in, without really making any other major changes. And they go around slapping around these other guys who have Salida movements who put something together. I don't know. I think Tudor is, from my handling of them, looking at them, they're very good quality watches. There's nothing wrong with them, but I don't know. Here's somebody who fell in love with a Chaumet Dandy Arty open face. So I wouldn't listen to that guy if I were you. All kidding aside, Timex are making some fun watches. There are a number of fun watches that are made. I agree. A company that I really like a lot, but I can't afford, and I wish I could, is Gronfeld. Gronfeld, they're like FP Journe and some of these other ones. They come out with these wonderful watches that I can afford. I used to be able to afford FP Journes on the used market. I can't even afford them there anymore. But Gronfeld's the company I like a lot. Girard-Perregaux and some of the other ones have been doing some really great things. In other words, they were good to begin with. They never changed. Fortis have chronographs, which is an excellent tool watch. Okay. Yeah, I know. See, that's my problem, is that I'm not a chronograph fan. And every time I ask somebody, what do you do with your chronograph? Time eggs. Whole milk. Zenith designs are getting better. Yeah, I tell you, the whole, I think there are different kinds of open face and skeletonized watches. And not too sure about them all, to tell you the truth. I think that they getting used to my new whoa, it's 8:30. Okay, frying pan time. All right. Thanks. I I think it's something though that I sort of dawned on me. We complain a lot, and we should. The amount we pay, we ought to complain a lot more. But a lot of companies seem to have come around. And it's good for them too. Okay, let's take a couple last ones. Then I got to run. Tissot PRX is pretty hot in 2021. I like Tissot's anyway. I just like them. I like the ones with ETA 60. You need a 60. What is it? 64, 98s, 97s. Those I like. Hey, Oliver, older Chopards from 2008 to 2012 can find 50% of original price, often like new. Tissot is on a roll. Yeah, they've been a good watch. I think they have. I just like them. Maybe why don't you like chronographs? Canadian Watch Monkey. I don't have. I'm not against them. I just don't. They do nothing for me. You take a glance at a watch, and if you have a chronograph, you got all of these whirligigs and all of this other stuff. I mean, a chronograph. The ideal chronograph is the agograph that's in the H. Moser and Singer, and I think in Fabergé. of all ones have that Agnograph. The Agnograph I like because you can glance at it, but by and large, sort of a lot of noise for not doing a lot. Okay. All right, guys. Well, listen, I like Pelagos too. That's one of my soft spots. Most brands are on the up. Good time to be a collector if you're not after the hype. Good point. Yeah, I think I, the only downside of them improving is that the prices they don't go immediately into the secondary market. Anyway, guys, look, this afternoon at 4 o'clock New York time, what I want to talk about is the opposite. What brands that used to be really solid, good brands have sort of gone down? We'll talk about that later. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you at 4 New York time.